Baker and I am here at Home Start in Central Lancashire, and we are supported by Chorley Council to answer some of the most commonly asked parenting questions. And within this video today we're going to be talking about keeping children's attention. So I'm quite sure that all parents and carers out there have been on the receiving end of trying to complete an activity, and you've put your heart and your soul into planning something and children get bored of it very, very quickly. So let's consider, to start with, what we mean by children's attention. So what we mean is how long they can take part in a task or activity before they become bored, okay? And that can depend on a lot of different things. It can depend on the child's age, it can depend on their interest within the actual activity that's taking place. It can depend if they're hungry, if they're tired. It can depend if they, what time of day it is. It can depend on so many different things. But it's worth bearing in mind that children of all different ages actually have different levels of the possibility to pay attention to a task or activity. When children are younger, it can sometimes be easier for parents to keep children's attention because we can make it quite fun, we can make it engaging, and children might be unlikely to have really come across that activity before, or that skill might be one of the first few times that they've tried to do something. Whereas as children get older and they start to attend school, certain activities and tasks can become quite boring, and it can become things that they get a little bit less interested in and a little bit less engaged with. They might have already realised that they're not particularly very good at whatever it is, so then trying to keep their attention can be something that can be really, really quite difficult. It can be quite important for parents and carers to understand their child's ability to keep attention, because then it's also how we're going to teach our children things. Because there's only so much time that children will pay active learning attention for before they're disengaging and they're not really listening to what you're trying to tell them anymore. And this can come alongside with homework as well, and how long we sit with children, or we sit children down and expect them to complete that homework task. We do have another video on encouraging children's homework, so if you do find that that specific area is something that you are struggling with, then please do take a look at that video as well. So to start with, we're just going to have a quick look at some various ages and attention spans, just so that you can kind of gauge and understand the level that we're working with. So if we're talking 2 years, 2-year-old, they should be paying attention between 4 and 6 minutes. Now, this is just a guidance. This is not going to be every child, and some children will be able to pay attention for longer periods of time. And again, it might depend on the time of day, the activity, your ways of motivating children to get through these activities. It's going to depend on a lot. But just as a bit of a guide, 2 years is 4 to 6 minutes. At 4 years, it's 8 to 12. So if you're starting to see, it's normally double to 3 times the actual age of the child. So at 6 years, it's between 12 and 18 minutes. At 8, it's 16 to 24 minutes. At 10, it's 20 to 30 minutes. At 12, we're 24 to 36 minutes. At 14, we are going on up there. We are 28 to 42 minutes. And by 16 years old, we should be at 32 to 48 minutes. Now, that might be quite surprising for some parents and carers, because we do have this expectation that children should be able to watch a full programme on the TV, or complete a game from start to finish, or to go to the park with friends and be entertained by the park for a long period of time, whereas their actual only attention span's really quite short, and they do kind of need gaps in between. So let's have a little look in a bit more depth at each of these stages. So we're going to begin with toddlers. And like we said, they've got a very short attention span of between 4 to 6 minutes. And there's a lot of development going on within this stage. We've got physical development, we've got cognitive development, we've got emotional development. And there's a lot going on, which is going to tire children's brains out really, really quickly. And it tends to be this period of time before they get any active schooling that we really can engage children in short blasts of activities really, really well. They're normally keen to take part, they want to learn, they want to grow, but it's got to be in those short blasts. When we start to have a look a little bit older, then we've got 4 to 5 years, and this is where they can start to sit and maybe complete games or little quizzes or little maybe writing activities. They're actually able to sit and complete these for between 5 to 10 minutes. And you may sit there and think, my child can do something for half an hour. That is absolutely wonderful, because your child must be interested in the topic that they're taking part in. But if they're not interested, I wouldn't expect anything longer than between about 5 to 10 minutes. Again, there's lots of variables. It's going to depend on a lot of different things. To be able to prepare your child for school, there is a degree of supporting them to establish an attention. It's something that we learn, it's something that we grow, a skill that we develop. So with that, you can encourage your child to take part in puzzles or activities that have got a start and an end. And that's going to get them used to being in the classroom where they have to take part in a certain writing task or reading task or maths task, or whether it's a building task. They need to keep their attention for a period of time. And bearing in mind, school will be well equipped on how long children's attention can be kept for. It's just something that we don't always know as parents and carers. As we start to edge up a little bit, we've got 6 to 7 year olds. And like we've said, we're kind of expecting between about 12 to 20 minutes of attention. And sometimes this can stretch up to around about 30 minutes. When they're motivated, when they're interested, this is where we're going to get most out of this age of children. Starting to have a look at 8 to 10. Now, this is a stage of quite rapid growth. And within this stage, they are mentally developing all the time, and they're really starting to learn what motivates them. They're starting to learn what they have an interest in, what activities they'd like to take part in. And they really do start to get a good gauge for themselves. They're able to take part in board games. They're able to maybe see these things through to the end. And sometimes we might be looking at maybe an hour's worth of attention, but bearing in mind that 20 to 30 minutes is very, very normal for this age range, so anywhere around that kind of time frame. If we move on to our teenagers, this is where we can regress ever so slightly, because children within those teen years prefer short, sharp shocks, something that's going to keep their attention, something that's not going to cause any levels of boredom. We're still only looking at around about 24 through to about 32, maybe top end of 48 minutes worth of attention. So if you do think about it, that tends to be how long their periods at school will be for. They're in a classroom for 45 minutes before they up sticks and move to another area of the school, and that helps to obviously re-engage them. They're sitting down, they're re-engaging in another classroom environment. Teenagers will massively struggle with tasks that are non-preferred. So whether this is an activity such as tidying bedrooms, washing pots, anything that's practical like that, they'll probably not want to do. If it's lessons at school that they haven't particularly got an interest in, it might be quite difficult to engage them within those lessons as well. So how can we encourage our children to gain attention capabilities? Let's have a little look. So number 1, give attention to get attention. Don't expect your child to just go off and pay attention to an activity and you can wander off in another direction. You have got to invest your time and engage them into that activity. Have a good balance between activities you take part with them, games, activities, things out and about into the community, whether it be homework. You have got to show them how to sit, how to pay attention, how to re-engage themselves. They learn from us as adults. So if you give them attention, they will also keep their attention as well. And you can kind of dip in and out and say, I'm going to leave you for 5 minutes and I'm going to come back and see what work you've completed or how you're getting on with that jigsaw puzzle or whatever it is. They thrive off your positive attention. Next, break tasks down. Especially if you're going to give children multiple things to remember, it might be a little bit too much for children to remember all in one go. Bearing in mind those very, very short attention spans. So with that, if you want them to grab the shoes, the coat, the bag, and you want them to stand by the door, it might be worth saying, go and get your shoes and come back to me. Go and get your coat and come back to me. Go and get your bag and then stand by the door. Because otherwise, you're going to lose them at maybe task 1, maybe task 2 if you're lucky. So nice, breaking it down into little sections. Next, bring some fun into this. Maybe see if you can jazz it up, make things a race, make things a reward, do a countdown, anything that you can do to make these activities fun. Even if it's taking part in these activities with your children, putting music on in the background. If they've got to do a task or a chore, put some music on. Have a dance around while you're asking them to hoover the front room. Try and make these activities fun so that children want to take part in these activities. Next, get moving. Sometimes children just need exercise to start that motor and get everything going. Or it could also be on the other hand, where they might have been concentrating for 20 minutes. They might need to get up, run around, shake it off, do a different activity, move before they're able to come and sit back down and concentrate again. Because 40 minutes worth of an activity, they're not going to be paying attention for all that time. Split it up, 20 minutes, 5 minutes active break, 20 minutes of attention again. Allow them that space to run around and burn off some of that energy that's beginning to boil underneath. Boost their brain power. There are some fantastic books that are out these days with different activities and brain challenges, or jigsaw puzzles that are available anywhere and everywhere. I love going round a charity shop and finding old jigsaw puzzles, because my children might only complete them once or twice, and then we give them back to the charity shop and they can move on. Things that puzzle and challenge their brain, keep them engaged, are also building up that attention capabilities. Just make sure you pay attention to the age that's normally a guidance on the box. Simple things. Ensure they're not hungry or tired. Think about it from your own perspective. If you're hungry, are you really paying attention at work or in your normal daily activities? The answer's probably not. If you're tired, your attention span most certainly goes. You might find yourself wandering off while people are having a conversation, or you've sat trying to complete a task and your brain's just wandering away. Making sure they are not hungry and making sure they're not tired can be really, really key to helping children to keep their attention, both at home and at school. Praise your child's efforts. If they take part in an activity, don't focus too much on the end result. And it might be that you might have to redo the task after it's taken place. Focus on them actually undertaking it. I can see that you're really trying. You're really concentrating on that. I'm really proud that you are putting everything you've got into this activity. You're doing fantastic. Rather than what they've created, what they've made, or that end goal. Pay attention to the process of them paying attention. Quite a simple one, but sometimes we can forget, especially with the world we live in these days. Remove distractions. If you know your child is going to be distracted by a TV, a mobile phone, siblings, friends, simply being spoken to, remove the distractions away. Find somewhere that's a nice, calm place for your child to be able to take part in whatever activity it is and allow them to be undistracted by the world around them. Children will always say, I can do it with the TV on. I can do it with my mobile phone next to me. I know I can't. If my mobile phone's there, I will pick it up and I will have a look at it without even thinking about it. Make sure you remove those distractions away. And final point, know when to ask for help. There are certain conditions out there that can prevent children from being able to pay attention for prolonged periods of time. If you are concerned that your child doesn't seem to be able to pay attention for long periods, maybe speak to school and get some advice or guidance, or if they're under school age, speak to a health visitor or medical professional and see if there's anything that can be done and any advice that can be given to be able to support you through any of the next steps that might be needed. But hopefully there are a lot of key points in there for you to try first before we go down any channels of anything to do with any attention deficit disorders. I really, really hope that you found some of this information useful today when we've been speaking about keeping children's attention. We are Home Start, working alongside Chorley Council to provide parents with answers to some of the most commonly asked questions. We have a range of other videos on our YouTube site and our website, so please do check them out. And if there's anything that we've not yet answered, please do get in touch and we will work hard to get that out there very, very soon. Thank you ever so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.